fellas. Another Wednesday night Skol Experience stream. How we doing?
Fabulous.
Doing fantastic. Another day in the off season. At least there was a little bit of news today with the Daniil Hunter stuff. With us receiving calls for potentially trading him. I don't know. I mean, we're just receiving calls. I don't know if that means we're really highly considering anything or if it's anything like that. I mean, what do you guys think on all of that?
Kind of putting the pieces together with Daniil Hunter, it really kind of sounded like his agent put out that the Vikings are just trying to do a Band-Aid contract for this year.
Mhm.
So then that generated calls to the Vikings to see if, anytime a player is complaining about contract situations, to spark interest in the team. Really sounds like it was an agent's ploy to speed up negotiations or whatever.
Right. And it's been kind of weird. Like, I know we've all talked about it. I know Jamie and I actually just recorded a video before this. It's up now on the channel. Basically, about how it's been pretty quiet. So I think a lot of us thought things were going kind of well. Maybe there's a plan in place once they free up a little more money with when they decide to move Delvin Cook, if they decide to move Delvin Cook. But after this, yeah, I mean, and I see both sides of it. Obviously, I see Daniil's side of it where I think he was being and that's the thing. Like, you got to give him credit. He hasn't done anything on social media. Hasn't made any cryptic tweets or videos of him being elsewhere during camp, which obviously hasn't been at camp, right, or at OTAs. But like, you got to give him credit for that. He hasn't taken like the diva way with it. Like, he hasn't made a scene about it or anything. But I also understand it from his agent's point and from his point. Like, eventually, it's time for the Vikings to make a move. And if there's one thing you could say about Kwesi, he's very. And we knew this kind of about him. I think he. I don't know if I would say overthinks, but he sometimes takes a little bit longer than we'd like to make a decision or a move on a certain player. He took a while with Za'Darius, still going on with Delvin. Obviously, now with Daniil, there's nothing, and we're starting to get something. But I mean, the something came from the fact that there had been nothing for so long. So, Dave, I see your point there, and I 100% agree with it. I think Daniil's camp is getting tired of the waiting game because last year, this last year is supposed to be his Band-Aid contract where he got through last year, proved he was healthy, and the way his contract was set up, you're not cutting him, and it's either cut, trade, or it's either trade or extend, because you're not going to cut him because of it's like an 18, like we lose $5 million in cap if we do. It's like an $18 million like negative. It's something, some sort of crazy number that you're not going to take that chance with the money there. So like this was supposed to be his Band-Aid contract. So from his perspective, I see why he doesn't want to take another Band-Aid contract. So I do think the agent put something out there because I think, he's his representative. He's making money off the guy as well. I think he's getting tired of the waiting game with this. Like, make a decision or let's make a move here.
Yeah. So what do you think happens here? Do you think we actually consider trading, or do we have to have Daniil Hunter on this team going into 2023? What do you guys think about that?
I think we kind of have to keep him because at this point, like I'd said, if we trade him before the draft, at least you can use whatever pick you get to draft an edge rusher. We didn't get much edge rush help in the draft, if any. Sure, you brought in Davenport, who had a down year last year. Then you got a couple young guys in Patrick Jones, DJ Wanham. But I just don't think you can afford to not have Daniil Hunter on this team if you want to be competitive on the defensive side of the ball. I know Flores coming in. We've all been really high on what Flores is going to do for this team. But I don't even think that Flores can make something happen with. We had barely any pass rush last year, and that was with Daniil and Za'Darius. So with neither of them, I don't even think the mind of Brian Flores can work with that and give us a solid pass rush. So,
well, and for me, Daniil Hunter was like you can put him anywhere. I think you can put him anywhere on that line, and he'd be top 10% of the league in any position. I think he's equally as good at the run as he is the pass. He's strong as hell. I mean, pass rush, not pass defense, but he's gonna leave a huge hole. It's like I know I have a particular co-host that does not believe that, not you guys, but that this is a window year. I think it's a window year. I think if this year would be the year to go all in, and that would
Right.
be like, hey, keep Dalvin Cook, keep Danielle Hunter. You know, your depth at a strong position at running back. I feel fine with less worried about losing Dalvin Cook, but Danielle Hunter for this year would mean everything to this defense, and he's leaving a big hole. He's just leaving a big hole. He would be an answer to a lot of problems if we kept him on the D line. And
Yeah.
I'm not, and I say D line because I think the way Flores is going to use him is not going to be standing up. I don't think he's going to use him like that.
Right. Yeah, that's what I agree on. I mean, I think I said this in the last video too, is that I just don't think if we lose Daniil Hunter and if we're really trying to run it back this season, except with hopefully a better team, and we lose Daniil Hunter, I feel like I don't know if I believe we have a better team anymore. Overall, I think that's creates way too big of a hole in our defense. We'll literally have no pass rush pretty much. So I just feel like if we did make that decision, and I mean, there could be a price tag for sure. I mean, if the price tag's right, maybe I take it. It'd have to be at least a first round pick. But at that point,
Bare
I'm thinking
minimum
like
first round for me.
yeah, minimum, and at that point, you're looking more towards the future. It tells me like, all right, let's double down on the future instead of coming into the season next year and actually trying to contend for a Super Bowl or whatever we want to do, a good season. I think regardless if we have them, I think we'll still have I think we'll have a solid season, and maybe playoffs. But with him, I think you're really taking a real chance at making a run in the playoffs potentially. So I think that's like the big thing for me is like if you do trade him, I think that shows like all right, you're a little bit more worried about the future than the present going into next year, because I think he's that important at this point with how we've handled this offseason and stuff from a pass rushing standpoint. So, I mean, it'll be interesting. I think we don't do it. I would be really surprised unless it's something that like kind of blows our minds a little bit. Which if that's the case, then I mean, I'd still probably be down if they're for sure being like, all right, let's, get our quarterback next year or whatever, and they just double down with that idea. Because for sure, if we get another first round pick for next year, then it's real. Then the whole quarterback thing really hypes up again.
I don't know. It's weird. I feel like he has to stay just because. I mean, Kwesi hasn't made any moves that make me think he wants to take an off year, and you just don't do that in the first place, especially after a 13-4 season. But then at the same time, maybe if you look at some of his moves in a different light, maybe that is his plan. Like bringing in some second contract guys on their second contract at short deals with not a lot of guaranteed money down the road. It's just kind of 1-2 year deals. Maybe that is his plan. Maybe see what I can do this year, but then really look towards building in the future, which I don't agree with. Maybe that is the plan. I don't think it is. I think they want to remain competitive, but and I think a big part of it is I don't know if, and like Jamie, like you said, I don't know if they're actively I don't think they're not the ones making the calls. I'm sure. I think they are definitely the ones getting the calls because people are trying to, because they, if like the Band-Aid deal at least shows me that they're making an effort to try to keep him. I think they realize the importance of him, but you have to make it work, and you have to make it work from the Vikings perspective as well. Because if you look at all the the potential re-signees in the next couple seasons here, you look at Daniil Hunter, you look at Justin Jefferson, of course, who's going to get the highest non-quarterback guaranteed contract in the league. Most likely, we've been hearing that all over the place. The money's going to be big. I think Jeremy Fowler talked about it late last week.
I feel like I can give some insight into that without spilling the beans too much. It's going to be, I think, smaller in length at the bottom end of the length that we would think. If there's a range, that I think it's at the lower end of that range. And yes, it's going to set a record. And I tend to look into that information as it's going to be all players. Like Bosa might push this. Like if a defensive player gets paid like $35 million a year, that will go into the thought process. Well, he needs to be paid more than him, not just over the next receiver.
So I wonder,
But
is Justin Jefferson waiting out some of these other contracts before he makes
it could be.
Yeah.
It could be his side. I don't know that part of it, but
Mhm.
but I can, from what I found out, is that we're gonna be happy. It is a positive situation right now. That
And
it is a positive situation right now.
And you want to talk about things being quiet in the media? The Justin Jefferson situation has been like there's been
Well,
no
he's
instance
doing
of
media.
anything.
He's doing Vikings media stuff right now.
Yeah,
like
like
top
yeah,
10 things of he likes to have.
right. So like there's been no signs of him, like, you know, no diva signs. I know people like to compare him to Jake not at camp. He's looking out for himself, and you got to respect that. But either way, so you got Justin Jefferson, of course, who he's going to be. He's gonna have to be resigned. Christian Darrisaw is gonna have to be resigned the next couple of years. TJ Hawkinson is gonna. We're talking about resigning him as well. Maybe a certain guy on this team that wears the number 8 might end up getting another contract. Who really knows? There's a lot of money that's got to be spread around here.
So you're
So
gonna be okay, Jamie. You're gonna be okay.
I don't know.
But I mean, so you do need to factor that in. I mean, obviously, you still need to build a team, and if you're going to pay 5 guys who deserve to be paid within the top tier of their positions, it's going to be tough to do. So, I mean, from Kwesi's side, he's been brought into a really difficult puzzle here. You came into a team that the cupboards were stacked up pretty well. So now you just need to figure out how you're going to navigate it. And I don't know how he's going to do it. And I think that's probably part of this. Like, they need to, I think they want to extend Daniil. They need to extend Daniil, but they also need to be able to look into the future and see how they're going to be able to make that work. Which I know in 2025, I think the only player under contract as of right now is Brian O'Neill. So there's money down the road, and plus salary cap going up and everything. But that's a lot of big time players you got to fit into these contracts.
And for me, the fact that we have so many spots available is because we're losing players, right? They're losing them to free agency. So that means to me is we really got to stack up draft picks. And one of the ways to avoid, I don't know, to losing, because if we go after a quarterback, we're going to have to combine draft picks and lose those picks to go up and get that quarterback that, Jamie, cover your earmuffs, Jamie. We might have to extend Kirk Cousins so we can we can facilitate that and maybe push that, maybe Jaren Hall is the answer down the road. That would be like a perfect world, right?
Yeah. Well,
like, oh, we just did get our heir apparent because he is good and he has those qualities of a leader, and a work ethic and, scrambling ability. He runs a 4.6. He's got a decent enough arm. He's got a lot of qualities, and that'd be a perfect world, right? And we could accumulate draft picks. Jaren Hall's our answer. We fill all those gaps in there. We have a cornerstone in Darrisaw, TJ Hawkinson, Justin Jefferson, Jalen Naylor. I'll throw his name in there. I'm kidding, but I'm half kidding. I think he's going to be great.
Dude, I have a good feeling about Naylor too. I have a good feeling. Let me do
everybody's coming around to me. I can tell you that. I led the charge. Go rewind the tape from this time last year.
Hey, I've been here. I've been here. What's up, Greg? What's going on? No new contract for Cousins. I see all that. No extension. Let him go. So spend some money on defense, which actually brings us back to the Hunter thing a little bit. Yeah, I definitely don't want a new contract for Kirk Cousins at this point, unless he does something crazy next year. But who knows what's gonna happen? Man, there's so many players that it's just like, what is going on with them? Like, what are we doing with Justin Jefferson right now? It's obviously, it seems like everything's gonna be okay, but why are we like? I wish there wasn't even a question about it at all. And then Daniil Hunter that we were already talking about, like, what's going on with him? We hear nothing about him until now with these trade calls coming all the way in June. Nothing this entire offseason, and we don't have much defensive help. Delvin Cook obviously has been probably the most weird situation we've been in a long time with a player, whether like he's gone for sure. Now, can we trade him? Now we can't trade him. Now he's going to stay with the Vikings. Now, no, he's not going to stay with the Vikings. Like, it's all over the place with that. as well, and then Kirk Cousins with his extension thing. It's all over the place. We have
Well,
all
and
these
that's why
going
you kind of have to wonder, like, Quasi's a genius. Is he overthinking things? Like, is he outthinking himself right now,
or
trying to
is
put
he just making some next level moves?
and we'll find out. And that's the thing.
Hopefully.
There's a
What
lot
is
of
going
things.
on, Rich? What is going on, dude?
There's a lot of things in the next couple weeks we'll find out, or the next couple, next while we'll find out here. Is like, does he have a master plan in place? Like, if we get rid of Delvin and Daniil and we don't get much in return, then there was never a plan in place, and you can kind of start to scratch your head for sure on that one. And then like, I know Dave mentioned Jaron Hall. You think with this season, when they watch him I know people say you can't judge him off his first year, but I think they would get an inclination whether or not they think he could be the guy down the road after his first season. If he picks things up well enough and he's learning, then maybe they think there's a shot. If he doesn't, then maybe they see him as a career backup, but who really knows?
I mean, you saw in preseason with Russell Wilson that he won that job, right? That might be one of those situations where, yeah, shit, we don't play our starters. And they didn't play the starters in the Rams or when KOC was with the Rams. So we're going to see a lot of Jaron Hall. And so maybe we do get that, he jumps off the page. You can watch preseason games and see people that just jump off the page, and that might be his opportunity. A little, I guess, history kind of reinforcement of what we probably already thought early on. It really was, Dalvin Cook's agent pushing the, he wants to play for Miami. He wants to play for the Bills. And then when it started coming back, you started hearing things like he really likes Minnesota, and he's now putting out highlight reels and stuff on Twitter. And the agent, I think, and this is being reinforced with other information I heard, is that the agent, I think, sees the market and is now wanting to come back to the table with the Vikings, whether or not it's too late or if the Vikings got something in the works. But we recently saw, with our own eyes, that the Jets and what was the other team? Cowboys have some interest there. Mm-hmm. And it's more like if he got cut. But what does that say to Miami? Are you going to let Dalvin Cook go to the Jets? You know what I'm saying? So we may have just got our like competition, right? Are you gonna go compete against the Jets? And do the Jets have more money right now than the the Dolphins? Who would get a Dalvin Cook if it went to free agency? So he may take the pay cut and go to Miami just because he wants to be near his family. But
right. Mm-hmm. What's going on, Dylan?
And then obviously the state income tax, because there's none in Florida and there's plenty in New York.
Right. The greatest guys, Andy Shizzy. So we are punting on this year. If we do trade Daniil Hunter, I wouldn't say it's an absolute punt, but it's, I don't know. In my opinion, I think I definitely think it takes a step back at it as far as contending this year. And in my opinion, it's definitely not a win now type of move. That's for damn sure.
Especially when there's no other option, like not many other elite options on the team for pass rushers.
Yeah, there's really nobody unless Davenport steps up again.
Right, and Davenport's going to be your most established guy who every other season he's good. I think he has a lot of potential left, and that's what the hope is, but...
Right. Tim, hey, what's going on, Tim? Keep Hunter. Why would you get rid of the best defensive player in a while? I'd like to see Cook stay too, but our running back stable is packed.
That is true.
That's why it's hard to see. It just really seems like it's unlikely that we keep Dalvin Cook with the way our running back room is looking right now, and just his contract, unless he was to end up taking a pay cut to stay with us. I don't know. Every sign possible sounds like he's not going to be here next year, but you never know. I think his odds, Vegas odds, or wherever the odds came from, is that he ends up staying as a Viking.
Yeah. What is it?
I forgot who it
some
was.
betting site.
Some betting site, which That just seems crazy to me. I'm
True.
surprised that they would have us number one with just our whole situation that we got going on there. Greg, why would you let Cook go and get nothing for him? That makes no sense.
I mean,
Um,
if no
Bingham
teams
makes
are
no
willing to
sense
part with
for him.
anything, then you really don't have a choice, unfortunately.
We can't keep paying Kirk this boatload of money to get us dumped in the first round of playoffs. If I was KOC Connell, right, and saw what Kirk did in the playoffs first call and he's gone, that was one of very
He was
very few
he had
opportunities.
the
to
highest
go to the Super
PFF
Bowl.
grade of every single quarterback week 1.
Getting rid of Hunter is really stupid idea. Hey, everybody in here, at the end of the show, we're going to give away a Justin Jefferson rookie card. All you have to do is hashtag Skol in the comments, subscribe to the channels, which everything is in the description below, and like our videos. Hashtag Skol in the comments. Right now, first time I said it, I don't think we have any entries, and I don't care if there's a one entry, that person will end up winning it.
Absolutely.
Stats don't get you to the Super Bowl. Yeah, they don't. I
They get you on the cover of Madden, apparently.
Yeah, really.
You play terrible in the playoffs and you get in the cover of Madden.
You know what surprises me? That Joe Burrow hasn't been a Madden cover guy yet, and Josh Allen. I don't know. Yeah,
Aaron
when I
Rodgers
Josh
has
Allen,
never been. He won
that's also
how
true,
many
yeah.
MVPs?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't he? Oh yeah, he hasn't been on the Madden cover.
I
When
want
I
him
saw with
on
Josh
it so
Allen, I was a
he'd
little
get cursed.
disappointed.
I know. That's the reason why
Freaking,
they wouldn't even try cursing Aaron Rodgers for us. Watch this. If this was the first year.
Well, that's the thing
cover,
is like
it'd be
outside
both.
of Green Bay, who likes Aaron Rodgers, right? So why would you put him on the cover?
Yeah, that's true.
Point.
That is true. But I think people are leaning towards Josh Allen. There was like some Justin Jefferson hype for a second.
No, it's Josh Allen.
It is Josh Allen.
Oh,
they announced it today. Yeah,
and they did Kirk Cousins dirty in the promo video.
They did. That's like the only guy that threw an interception,
and then got shoved to the ground afterwards. And then the player got in his face. I'm like,
dang,
oh my god.
Kirk does get. I mean, there's no question. Kirk gets. It's a little unfair the criticism on Kirk. I mean, I'll admit that 100%, especially when you got to do that. I mean, come on, man. You think
he's one of those guys? It's just he's easy to hate on,
or something, or the handful of passes in the Colts game. That's the kind of stuff that it should be.
Right. But yeah, what do you do? Well, anyway, that's enough of that. Daniil Hunter, I think we can all agree Daniil Hunter needs to stay on this team. I hope they can find a way to do it. Unless it's
something crazy.
Even if I
want a quarterback,
would be enough
I want a freaking future quarterback so bad next year. If you pulled off something crazy enough or it makes it look a lot better that we go and do that, I won't be totally mad. But if we end up anything less than a first rounder, and honestly, at this point, for us to be competitive with that being the goal, at least that's what it's been seeming like it's the goal. It'd be hard to see anything less than that. Honestly, more than that. Maybe more than a first round at this point, because we need a pass rusher just as much as any other team in the league right now. I'd say.
Yeah.
If we lose him, we probably have the least amount of pass rushers.
And like I said on Monday when Mike was on our live stream, we all talked about this. Had we traded Daniil before the draft and gotten a first round pick, I'd have been okay with it, especially if we would have drafted his replacement in the draft somewhere. But the fact that we didn't, and if you trade him for next year's picks, to me, it's a head scratching move. It doesn't make a ton of sense. So,
yeah, we gotta figure out how to keep him, but we got so much contract stuff to figure out too.
I think it's harder to trade before the draft, though. The reason being is because the draft pick now is more valuable than the draft pick in the future, just because of what it's worth right now. You don't know what it's worth next year,
right?
So, and other teams are looking to fix their issues, and they're like, "Hey, let me do it a cheap way through the draft," and rather than giving up all this capital to get a guy that.
Right.
Is proven, but 29 years old. So I can see why it was harder to trade before the draft.
And even with us, we also didn't know for sure what direction maybe we want to go. I don't know. It's so hard because the Hunter thing, we just heard nothing about it.
I just assumed the value wasn't there. There's still optimism of re-signing him, all that.
My guess is our plan was to re-sign him. That's what I think it is. I think
it still is.
Well, I think this whole thing from the agent could just be like, all right, guys, make the decision, give him the contract. Let's end this now. Let's be done with it. Like that's probably what he's trying to do. Probably trying to annoy Kwesi with all the calls he's going to get from other teams, just to say, you know what, just make the deal, let him sign it. Let's be done with this and move on.
Yeah. Yep.
Losing him does not make us a better team.
No, it
makes especially now. Like,
and I'm on the side of this is a window year. This is a opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's what I'm saying. Like if I'm Dave, and I agree, like that's what I think most fans should definitely think, that there's no reason to believe that we're trying to, not be good this year. So if I'm Dave, like I'm thinking for sure we should definitely keep Hunter. If we lose Hunter, then we might miss this window year. We're not being serious about this being that window year before we start looking towards the future. So that's why it'd be crazy if we did get rid of him, because I feel like that's kind of us shutting the window a little bit, and it'll be interesting to see. And then we'll probably be like an 8-8 team, and then or 8 and whatever, or we'll say 9-8 team, 9-8 team, barely make playoffs, hopefully make playoffs, and kind of have a shitty middle round pick or whatever again, instead of taking a real chance at it. If we're going to take a real chance, whether you want the future or not, but to me it seemed like we're going to take a real chance. If we're going to take a real chance, then I definitely think we should make a real attempt at it.
And here's my, I guess, reasoning of why it's a window year. It's not because I think we have an elite team. Obviously the defense is not elite. I do think we have an elite offense that's just been untapped yet. Obviously the talent is there, but the reason being is everything around us. The NFC North no longer has Aaron Rodgers in it. The Bears are still a season or two away from building up that roster
and a quarterback away.
Well, and potentially a quarterback away. And the Lions, they doubled down with their defensive coordinator, and they had a bad defense last year. We made the change and got a better one, and are changing their direction with that. So I think that NFC's someone called it up for grabs. There's only two teams in the NFC North that are NFC North is up for grabs. I'm like, what are you talking about? There's only two teams, and it's between us and the Lions. I don't see the Bears or the Packers even competing. No. But then when you look at it, the situations, the other tougher teams are all in the same division, right? With the NFC East. Outside of, then you got the NFC West where it's San Francisco. So if we can beat a quarterback, if you have three quarterbacks, you have none, right? Situation over there, that if we beat San Francisco, we have a tiebreaker. We have solidified the second seed. And obviously we probably all think that the Eagles are the number one team. But how much, coming off a letdown of losing the Super Bowl, is that going to affect that team? Look what it did to the Rams winning the Super Bowl. So, it's just that opportunity. We do not have to beat the teams in the AFC to get to the Super Bowl. We just got to beat the ones in the NFC, and they're going to be playing on the road against us, in my opinion. Like the Cowboys will be playing on the road, and not that didn't hurt them last year. They crushed us at home in the regular season, but it's just, that's the opportunity that's there, is the landscape of the NFC.
Absolutely. Well, should we jump into the actual segment we were going to get into in this stream?
Let's do it. Hey, what's going on, Sarah? Hashtag Skol again, giving away a Justin Jefferson rookie card. All you need to do is hashtag Skol in the comments, like the videos, and subscribe to the channels. Having Flores alone makes a huge difference in our season. Being successful or not, also got to hold on to Hunter. Yeah, I think the Flores things is the main thing, where it was like, all right, we're running it back next season. That was the most obvious part. And to take Hunter away from, if anyone's going to be pissed, it's got to be him if you take Hunter away. So it's hard to see something like that happen. What's going on, Skol for Life? Kirk ain't taking us to the Super Bowl. I'm a psychic.
Why even watch the season then?
Yeah. I'm a psychic. Vikings not going to win the Super Bowl. That's like the most obvious thing every year, unfortunately.
31 teams aren't going to make the Super Bowl, so it's a pretty easy guess. It's a pretty easy prediction.
You're at least what 20 years in a row. You got that one right.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this. So
You've been right every year since 1961.
yeah, that is psychic stuff. What's going on, Skol Mafia? What's going on? I've broken psychics in my life. All right. So
Anyway,
speaking of
top
breaking
5
something, let's
breakout
talk
players.
about what's that?
So top 5 breakout players going into the
Hey,
2023
perfect.
NFL season.
So yeah, that's what we're here for, is to talk about our top 5 breakout players for the NFL season coming up next year. What's going on now? People are starting to pop in here. What's going on, Bob Swede? What is going on, Yogi? Skol, everyone, Skol brother. What's going on, my worthless opinion, Skol? Just like Yogi did, hashtag Skol in the comments for your chance to win a Justin Jefferson rookie card. Like the video and don't forget to subscribe to both channels, which everything is in the description below. Let's jump into this right away. Our top 5 breakout. This is our consensus top 5, and we'll kind of go through an honorable mentions page, and then we can all give our opinions out here. Hey, what's going on, Justin? I'm winning tonight. Hey, I think actually that's been working for people. If they say they're going to win, they've been winning. So anyways, with further ado, for the first breakout player of next season, the most obvious one in my opinion, and that's Alexander Mattison. I know, you could argue that he's kind of already been established and already kind of broken out, but he's been a backup for his whole entire career. So I think if he comes in and is running back 1, I think he'll have over 1,000 yards. And I feel like that would make it a breakout year. What do you guys think on Alexander Mattison?
First, I commend you on your slide game, man. That's pretty good, man.
Thank you.
I think 1,000 yards is asking a lot, because I think it's definitely
1,000 is asking a lot.
I think it will, because I think it's going to be much more. I mean, I think he's going to be the lead back, but I do think it's going to be a lot more of a committee type system, to where I could see him having like 800 some yards, and I could see him being the main goal line guy too, with quite a few touchdowns. 1,000 yards. I don't think it's not outside of his realm of possibility if he were to get like all of the carries. But I guess, like I said, I do think they're going to mix in Chandler a little bit in there as well. But I definitely could see a mid 800 yard season for him for sure. And and he's finally going to be getting a lion's share of the snaps. So I think that's the big thing for him. I think he's going to show us.
There he goes, bringing up the Lions again.
Yeah, I know he does. Man, him and the Lions. What's going on, my worthless opinion? See, that's the thing, is I've never, obviously we have whole new coaching staff, whatever. But even with Alexander Mattison here, obviously you have Cook as your RB1. We've just never seen any sort of committee. And it just sounds so far like they expect him to be a 3-round type of back, even though I do think we have so much talent in Chandler and McBride. I just have a feeling that they like to run with one guy a majority of it. And if that is the case, and he is more of that guy, especially Alexander Mattison compared to Cook last year, who should be able to, break more tackles at the line of scrimmage and stuff like that. I feel like we're going to see a lot of Alexander Mattison, and I feel like it's going to be I think you're not going to look at it as a committee, but it will be a little bit more to the side of that. But I think it'll be more towards like Cook being your franchise RB1 type of player.
But I mean, I think breakout for Madison is him showing us, like, see, I could be a lead back on a football team, and I think he will show us that this year.
It's or
potentially Pro Bowl. I think he has Pro Bowl potential still.
Very well could.
And did Dalvin Cook get a 100-yard game this past year? No, right? He was on his way in the Lions game until he had the butt fumble. But he didn't have a 100-yard game. I think Alexander Mattison could, because he'd be fed the ball with leads in the fourth quarter. I think with with short yardage, he's our guy by default. When we were not using him at short yardage in the first half of the season, and then obviously jump passes and shit like that were not effective. We just by default, Madison, I think, is going to have more touchdowns than we probably think he was going to have. And I think 1,000 yards is definitely, I think you guys too, is a possibility. I I don't know how much they're gonna do a running back by committee. I just don't.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get 1,000 yards, I think it's because of injury.
Yeah, and
I feel that's the only reason he wouldn't get 1,000 yards this year.
I think at the very least, I think he's starting the season off as a full RB1. Otherwise, because we don't know for sure if Alexander Madison's going to come in and be a legit RB1 elite guy, and we might have someone like that on this team, and like McBride could potentially be that type of running back. Obviously, he's not big in the catch game, or who said that here? Oh, Jerry. Hey, what's going on, Jerry? That Tyler, he says Ty Chandler is a 3 down back for because he can catch balls and stuff like that. So if that is
I think
true,
Madison isn't as well known at catching balls, but he can catch.
Underrated pass catcher. I would agree.
I think he's a 3 down back, honestly.
Yeah, and I think he's gonna start the season that way, and it will be up to him. I think if it turns into more of a committee, that's probably not a good sign for Alexander Madison, because I think they're really gonna give him his shot to be that guy for us.
And Kevin O'Connell did say he wants to get back into the running game this year. He wants to run the ball more this season as well. So
yeah, he did. So I would say, I mean, who knows if he'll get 1,000? I think if he does get 1,000 yards, I would definitely consider that as a breakout year for a guy who's been a backup for his entire career, or whatever.
If he has over 10 touchdowns and 4 100-yard games, 3 or 4 100-yard games, that's a breakout to me. And he's, definitely if he gets 1,000 yards, he doesn't have far to make it a breakout year because he has never had more than 400 yards in a season, and that's because he took over for injury.
And obviously, being an RB1 is going to obviously that's probably going to happen. He's going to get a lot more yards and touchdowns and everything. So that's why I think this is like the most obvious player for being a breakout for the Vikings this year. What's going on, sports and stars with Jade? Excited for Madison to shine. So let's move on to our second player that we think is going to be a breakout this next year, and that is second-year player Brian Asamoah. What is your thoughts on Brian Asamoah going into this season? Man, as our pretty much, I mean, he could be our best linebacker.
Just sheer volume of snaps, will make him a breakout player for us.
I mean, because he's going into the season as a starting linebacker. Like, there's no competition at that spot. And the thing with him is, I mean, like, I know I liked him a lot coming out of college. I love the motor that he played with, which is like the first thing you want to see. Like, love of the game and how hard they play. And he came out and played that way right away, played that way in training camp. They were talking about him. Preseason showed some flashes. In the Giants game in December, had the forced fumble and the fumble recovery. So, like, in the limited amount of snaps he got, like, you saw what this guy can be. So the sky's the limit. I'm excited to see what this guy's going to do. He fits what I think he fits well what Flores is going to want to do on defense. He got to sit and learn from Eric Kendricks, who was another undersized linebacker coming into the league. So I think Asamoah is going to have a huge year.
Man, I'm definitely hoping so. We kind of need him to, but his speed and his energy is something that we really need, and his leadership too. I know it's only his second year. I know he was well known as being a great leader for Oklahoma and like kind of the heart of their defense. Yeah, he was like the rock of that defense, the heart of that defense. And
well, he's also the guy with the, like Casey said this year, with the boom box. He was the guy carrying the boom box and Kirko chains.
And Kirko chains. That's what we need. That's what we need we need that Brian Asamoah this season. And I mean, in the future for sure. But if he can kind of step up and be that type of player this year, which I feel like he can, I think that alone would be really nice for us just this year. But yeah, you had the speed, you had all that stuff. Obviously, a little undersized. Still, he showed enough last year, and just like Dave says, I mean, if the more snaps we give this kid, he took advantage of everything. And I think the next player also has taken advantage of all of his snaps, but he's taken advantage as good as you could possibly hope of the playing time he did have last season. And you just give him more playing time, we'll see higher production, hopefully. But
when I did my video on him after the draft, I was enamored with the fact that he had this innate ability in play recognition where there would be some reverse going on the offensive side, and his whole team went the wrong way besides him, and he ran down the player. Like, he is able to just uncannily recognize the play,
Right.
and then the burst, and the pursuit speed, angles, all this. He's undersized, but he makes up for it with his intuition, I think. And I think, yeah, I have high hopes for this guy. High hopes.
And we kind of need it. If there's one of these second year players or even second year players and rookies that feels like they're going to make the biggest step forward, it's Brian Asamoah. And
Yeah.
to the point where I think us as a Viking fan collective kind of are almost expecting it, to the point where we're not really even paying attention to him or that position as much as we are to all the young players in our cornerbacks and stuff like that, or even our safeties. So it shows a lot about him and our confidence in the player that we all think he's going to be. One thing before Casey, this is kind of funny. It looks really weird having someone else wear 33. It's really funny because all his pictures look so close to Delvin Cook. Like, if you took his head off, I'd be like you have to look to make sure it's his face in there sometimes. I always have a hard time picking it. I think it's Delvin Cook at first.
Yeah.
But what's up, Casey?
I was gonna say that, yeah, like, people want to talk about the cornerback depth. If you look at linebackers, there's no depth there. You have Asamoah, you have Jordan Hicks, who, Jordan Hicks is a role player type of guy, probably, should be a rotational piece, but he started most of the last year. He's going to be starting this year. And then after that, you have Ivan Pace Jr., undrafted free agent. You have Troy Dye. And is that it? Is that all we have at linebacker? I mean, I'm sure there's a couple other.
I think we picked up.
Yeah,
Williams or something like that's back to who I know Kevin O'Connell had some pretty high praise for as well.
Yeah,
we got the kid from the Rams. He was super athletic.
Rams.
Yeah,
and he's had 90. He's had 90 tackle seasons before.
Right, but still, you have one young guy who you're really hoping he does something. Then you got a bunch of other vets who are, you're like, who knows, so like that. Linebacker is a position that I think people should be more concerned about, but I think on that defense with edge rushers and corners, you kind of forget that linebackers are there, and you have a young guy in Asamoah that you really like. So I mean, every layer of the defense, you kind of, especially now with the Daniil news, you can kind of scratch.
Hey, what's going on, Skol TY?
But Reader, that was the other linebacker. That's right, the guy from the Rams. But I mean, like, it's a position that there's depth, but it's not quality depth. So I'm a little worried about the linebacker, which is a big reason why Asamoah needs to have a breakout season.
And then might as well just shout this out for Casey, is he picked Brian Asamoah in his top 5 linebackers going into the draft that year. So
I like him a lot.
That's really working out for Casey so far. Impressive. So if he really breaks out and he becomes that guy, that's going to be like Casey's identity.
It is.
What's up, Dave?
I was saying that's impressive because I don't think many did.
But yeah, Brian Asamoah, need him to have a big year, which he did say, because he was on the Viking circle with on Vikings website, Gabe Henderson. He did say it is pronounced Asamoah.
Asamoah. Right, yep. Brian Asamoah.
Yep.
All right, let's go to our next player. I forgot who it is. I think it is the guy who I was saying who took advantage of all his opportunities the best you possibly could last season in Jalen Nailor, since he had the second highest PFF grade of all wide receivers and was targeted 12 times on the 31 passing snaps, catching 9 of them for 170 something yards and a 50-yard touchdown. This is Dave's guy, Jalen Nailor. How are we feeling about him? The hype surrounding him, and out of any players this offseason, I got to say Jalen Nailor is probably getting the most hype coming up to training camp of these young players that we're hoping, break out. What's your guys' thoughts on Nailor?
Well, I think, the way we went after that 10-year-old in our chat last week about saying we had nobody at receiver. And but I think Jalen Nailor is proof that we do. It kind of reminds me of, Adam Thielen getting buried in the depth chart, right? And when he did get in there, he had like some 40-yard touchdown out of nowhere, and he blocked that punt for a touchdown. That was his first touchdown of his career. He just shown sparks And I feel like that's what Naylor did when he came in. The fake punt, the touchdown against the Bears. He followed that touchdown up with a sneaky little, 15-yard route breaking some guy's ankles. It just, there was like his first 5 catches were first downs in this league. I just think so much about this guy. And then they showed him on a go route, not a go route, but like a stop and go, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but in the preseason here, in the OTAs, he burned a corner. And I think it might have been Blackman. No, it was Murphy. He burnt Murphy on a sideline route, walked into the end zone. I just feel like that he is our field stretcher. I think we have. I think we are deep at wide receiver because of this guy.
Yeah, and we just made our our Monday video? Yeah, our Monday video was if we have the best position group in the NFL. Spoiler alert, we said yes with our pass catchers. But a lot of it is just
Who was second? Is it still like Cincy or what?
It was since we were between Cincy and the Vikes, and we unbiasedly chose Vikings over them. But with Jalen Naylor,
that'd be a hard choice, but I would lean Vikings just because I think if Addison pans out, then yes, I'd lean Vikings.
If Addison is who he's supposed to be, and if Jalen Naylor turns into at least us 3 in this podcast believe he can be, and I'm assuming a lot of Viking fans, we might have a real weapon. I mean, it's just, again, it's a guy that took advantage. Like, he, out of a 6th-round wide receiver for how little he played, like, it's as best you could possibly hope from any player from that season, and then to go into OTAs and also like continue to impress. And even in preseason and stuff last year, we were hearing the buzz around his name and stuff. So it's just been nothing but good ever since we've drafted him. And usually from past experiences, when you kind of hear those kind of, that background noise, a lot of the times, like Stephon Diggs, you heard that, for example, a lot of times it seems like those players turned out to kind of fill that hype that you hear in the background noise. A couple that didn't was like Irv Smith, I guess, but he was going through his injuries each off season. And a good example that did kind of work one season was KJ Osborne going into training camp as a wide receiver, not this past year, but the year before. And then he kind of showed, oh, wait, he's a legit wide receiver, even though he was almost cut. And then the same kind of hype went into last season, and they were a little bit disappointed. But it'll be interesting to see what KJ turns into with the chip on his shoulder as well. And that's kind of like all of that. I think KJ Osborne's going to improve. I think Jalen Naylor, he's going to be probably one of the biggest surprises of our team. Obviously, we have him on our breakout list. Addison is who he's supposed to be, and Justin Jefferson, obviously the best wide receiver in the league, and then TJ Hawkinson. It's hard to argue against that pass catching group.
I mean, just think for the next 4 seasons, if Naylor turns out and Addison turns out, I know you're asking for a lot of people just to turn out, but I mean, having JJ, Addison, Jalen Naylor, and TJ Hawkinson is like your top 4 pass catchers. Man,
especially if Naylor is the guy that takes the top off people. If he does become that deep guy for us, it'd be crazy if that happens.
Right, you would have Justin Jefferson, who's just like the all-around best receiver in the league. Addison is like a route running technician, and then Naylor could just be like your deep guy to stretch the field, and then TJ Hawkinson work in the middle as well. Like, name a better group of pass catchers right there,
dude. That's.
So I will, of course, I'll do it right now and give the Bengals their pat on the back. Like, obviously with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and then Tyler Boyd. Like I said in the last time, Tyler Boyd. Name a better wide receiver 3 in the NFL than Tyler Boyd. It's hard to do.
Yeah, but until Naylor, because that's the thing is Naylor could be that. So that's
right. So that's right now, I feel Naylor is a can't miss starting receiver in this league.
Though if Mateo was in here, he would disagree.
But he will be third.
That Michigan State can never produce a good offensive player.
Right. So we like Naylor for a breakout, and for him, it's if he becomes like our wide receiver 3, like if he did what KJ Osborne did after all his hype, I would consider that as like, obviously it depends on like that's a breakout. Maybe he could even take a bigger breakout than that, but I would consider that a breakout for him is if he gets significant playing time and makes an impact to this offense this season.
For sure.
Yeah, we mentioned
Michigan Spartan wide receivers. Andre Rison, he was pretty good. Plaxico Burress, until he shot himself.
Well, yeah, he shot himself, but that doesn't mean you're not good. You're just dumb.
And I guess you could say Charlie Rogers was all right, but he wasn't that good.
Yeah.
There's more
it's
here.
It's not that bad. It's not that.
It's
bad.
not a long list. It's not a long list, but there's some good one. Andre Rison is a Hall of Famer, right? Or could be.
Plaxico Burress was a legit good wide receiver for a couple of years, and then he shot.
BJ Cunningham, Montreal Alouettes.
Yeah, hey, it's a lot way better than I did.
Made it somewhere.
Musan Muhammad was pretty good for a little bit. He was pretty good for a little bit.
Yeah, but has Tyler saved a man from a burning car? No, so it's KJ. Has Jalen Naylor? You mean has Jalen Naylor saved the car? I forget about that. KJ saves. That is true. KJ did save someone from a car. I think KJ's
Tyler Boyd. He's saying, but
good this year. That's why I think we're going to be in a good situation. Yeah. Oh, Tyler Boyd. Okay, I got you. But that's why I think our offense just has so much potential. So our wide receiver room has so much potential is because I do see three players outside of not JJ, the other three receivers coming in and making an impact this season. And it's a good problem for us to have, I think. Well, obviously it is, but
right.
Naylor got on KLC's good side by showing up to work. Yeah, dude. He came in and that's, he took advantage of every opportunity with Justin Jefferson and Addison being sidelined.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So we're liking this one.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity presents itself. He's taking advantage of it. That's exactly the shit.
Speaking of that, go to the next slide. Josh Oliver as well. So I believe from what I had heard from Purple for the Win podcast is that TJ Hawkinson has a little bit of a nagging injury right now, so they're kind of they're not using him as much, kind of keep him off to the side, light work. And Oliver has been in there and been taking advantage of the reps that he's gotten so far in OTAs. Sounds like he's doing pretty good from a pass catching standpoint, which I think we all kind of agreed when we signed him that there was a lot of untapped potential there from a pass catching perspective. So it's good to see him getting a little bit of extra work, just like those receivers are with no JJ. So hopefully something turns out. Like, because it sounds like we'll probably be trying to use a little bit more 2 tight end sets here. So if he could make an impact in the pass catching game with TJ Hawkinson, with all those receivers, watch out.
I'm not lying when I say I think we got another weapon here. I am. Yeah. When I turned on this highlight tape of his professional career with Baltimore, and it was highlight catch after highlight catch of bad balls being thrown at him and him bringing it down in some insane like horizontal outstretched arms, cradling the ball, high pointing. He is coming from a pass catching background of a 700 yard season for a small. What college did he go to?
San Jose State, where his last season he had 709 yards and 4 touchdowns. 709 yards receiving, 4 touchdowns.
So he's just hasn't been unleashed yet. Yeah. He's coming into a situation where there's going to be a lot of balls to go around. But the fact that he's an all-around player, I feel like it's not necessarily, this is not an offensive thing that we're talking about here. We have Asamoah at defense, but we're talking about him. It could be in the running game too. He could be our
JD, what up?
Skol, he could be our all-around guy to help unlock the running game and catching 30, 40 balls and getting 400 yards and maybe a few touchdowns. And that, to me, if he helps with the running game, that could be a breakout candidate for me in this situation, just because of the position he plays.
Well, that's what he's natural receiver coming out of college, like you said, as a receiver, goes to a team that is definitely run first with a quarterback like Lamar. And it's almost like and then he became an elite tight end blocker while being there. So it's almost like the Ravens just prepped this guy up for us to take him. And obviously with the contract that we ended up giving him, we look at him as much more than just a really good blocking tight end. And that's all it takes. He's already one of the best blocking tight ends in the NFL. So if he comes in here and he shows anything in the passing game, you'd have to consider that a breakout because he's already elite at one part of his position.
Here's his weakness.
Like
here's his weakness coming out of college. Here's his weakness coming out of college. Run blocking needs a lot of work. That was his
Look
weakness.
at him now.
And now, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He's a 4'6", 340, 6'5", 249, 34-inch vertical.
He has a 40-inch vert.
34.
Oh, 34. I thought you said
22 reps on the bench.
Hey, that's
22 reps on the bench.
I like that. Hey, thanks, Tim. We appreciate it. So, Josh Oliver, our next breakout tight end, another example, someone that we forgot to mention until Casey did when we went over there. Another guy that could bring our passing game to another level as well. And it really shows how our passing position or our pass catchers could be the best position in all of the NFL. And if him, Naylor, and Addison turn out to who we think they're going to be, I think there's going to be no question by the end of the season that's going to be the case, especially when you have a quarterback that can at least get the ball and get the stats to these players. At the very least, we can always count on Kirk to do that for us. So
absolutely. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they use Josh Oliver in the offense, and it's like for a team that wants to run the ball more, adding the best blocking tight end in the league who could also be a pass catcher, it doesn't seem like a bad idea. And I didn't think it was when they signed him. Like when people were upset about how much money we paid him, it's like we paid him that much money for a reason. We're expecting him to be more than just a blocker.
Skol TY does make a good point here, though. Hope he doesn't disappoint wearing the 84. No one has been good in the numbers since the GOAT.
He's got to retire. How we haven't retired 84 and 80 by now is just it's a joke.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you got to have.
Or is 80
you have
retired?
99. You have 90 players on your team to start the season. So
did they retire at least 84?
Did they retire 80?
I don't think so.
I thought maybe they did. I could be wrong. They should though. They should.
So going to our fifth and final breakout player, we have honorable mentions, but in our top 5 for going into next season, we got the comeback player of the year, potentially Lewis Cine, who has already been impressing in OTAs and came back a lot faster than anyone expected. Someone who wants to stack bodies, someone that we felt was going to make a big impact for our team last season. Obviously, he has to wait until this season. Skol TY said yes, 80 is retired. Okay. How is 80 retired but not 84?
Chris Carter left on good terms the first time.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, a quick thing about Josh Oliver. You know how much I like hands. 10.63 inches. That's ridiculous. That's like 1%. That's 1 percentile type shit right there.
That's what we need. Speaking of 1 percentile, what Lewis Cine ran what was his 40 time?
4.38, I think.
4.38. Yeah, that's got to be 1% type of shit right there too. What's going on, Sculpture Soup?
For safety, yeah.
Yeah, for safety is for sure. And that's what's crazy about Lewis Cine is no one even talks about his speed. People just talks about his hitting ability and stuff like that. And then you look at his speed, and this kid has all the potential in the world. His mindset's good. Man, to see him come back so quickly from his injury the way he has shows his discipline and his working ability.
I shortchanged him 4.37.
Wow. Lewis Cine is the guy that is one of the guys I'm most excited about on this defense. I loved him when we drafted him. I didn't know who he was. The more I looked into him, the more I really started liking the kid. You hear him talk, just sounds like he's got a good head on his shoulders. Hard worker. I know I did also see somewhere that he's been working primarily with the twos. But if you do think about it, he does seem like a more 1-to-1 replacement for Harrison Smith than he does for Cam Bynum. So maybe that has something to do with it.
But I don't think you're going to plug him into the starting lineup immediately.
No, absolutely not. But I do think by the end of the season, if he's not a full-fledged starter, I think he will be getting a majority of the snaps back there at that other safety spot.
I mean, he's a
I do.
36.5-inch vert, 11.1 inch, or 11 feet 1 inch on the
Broad. On the
broad
broad.
jump. Those
That's
are all
insane.
elite numbers.
Dude's an
Yeah.
athlete, that's for sure.
Dude, he's an insane athlete, and
I mean,
and no one even cared about it. They just cared about how he destroys people.
He was the
And-
he was the defensive MVP of the 2022 national or 2021 national title game or 2022
Yeah,
national.
the Georgia defense that everybody's doing whatever they can to take players off that
Right,
thing.
exactly.
So, I mean, this hopefully, I'm hoping at least we see him play more earlier on. Like last year, he was pretty much getting no snaps in back there, but hopefully we see more of
He had
that
2
going earlier
defensive snaps until he got hurt.
until he got hurt.
And
So
game 4, right?
yeah. So I'm hoping we see him at least, it's him coming in a lot for Cam Bynum. Obviously with Harrison Smith too, I wouldn't be surprised if Harrison Smith maybe like takes a little bit less snaps compared to usual.
That's fair.
Especially if you're going to use that's the thing with Harrison Smith and Flores. There's going to be times where I wouldn't be surprised if you see all three of them on the field with Cam Bynum, Lewisine, and Harrison Smith at the line of scrimmage this season with Flores. So that's something to look forward to as well. So I do think we really hope this is the year that that Lewisine breaks out after this.
Well, you got a
injury.
6'2" guy with 4.3 speed, and if you're gonna have, one deep safety, right? What a perfect guy to have be that.
Let Harrison Smith get up to the line of scrimmage and let Lewisine do what he does back there. I mean, I think I'm pretty sure his like that relative the RAS, the relative athletic score. I'm pretty sure his was pretty high last season when he got drafted.
Yeah, he's a beast. He's a beast. Anyway, so that's our top 5, but let's go into our honorable mentions. Let us know in the comments who you guys think, besides the top 5 that we chose. Maybe you can give us your thoughts if you want, but who do you guys think is going to be players that we didn't list that are potential breakouts for next year? Our first honorable mention, though, I want to just bring up Christian Darrisaw. We talked about this earlier. I mentioned how do you consider someone a breakout player? I think if someone who's like not established at all becomes an established player, I feel like that's a breakout. But all the way up to a guy who's already considered elite, at least in our opinions as Viking fans, and probably from a statistical standpoint. Next year, I wouldn't be surprised if he's top 3 at his position. And I think he has potential to be the best left tackle in entire NFL. And if he comes anything close to that, I would consider that a breakout. It's only his 3rd year.
And this is why I brought up to you guys, and I made the point to get him on this is because he's not been a Pro Bowler and he's not an All-Pro. This is his 3rd year in the league, and if he becomes a Pro Bowler and an All-Pro, that is a breakout to me. And more people, I think he got plenty of credit this past year, but once he had the concussions, people stopped talking about him, right?
Mm-hmm.
He is everything to this offensive line, and you do not have to worry about him. You do not have to chip block if you got this guy blocking on the left side. So he is just going to help open up this offense if he can stay healthy the whole time. But yeah, for me, a breakout player goes from, being a really, he's solid. He's elite. We know he is, but not everybody knows this.
Yeah.
And he is going to be, at least in NFL circles, a household name. People will game plan for this guy, and he will make the Pro Bowl, and I think he'll be All Pro this year if he plays 15 games.
I'm excited to see the Christian Darrisaw versus Nick Bosa snaps. I think that's gonna be a lot of fun.
That'd be fun, yeah.
And Joey Bosa, we played both this year. If Bosa, I don't know if Bosa lines up on that side, or Joey Bosa lines up on that side.
The last time the Bosa from the Chargers played us, he didn't do shit. So hopefully that's the same way this year.
Absolutely.
Sarah, Ingram will be a break. I think that's actually a really good choice in Ingram.
I pondered that idea, but I haven't seen. I know he second half of the season, I think he improved, but I just haven't seen I haven't seen the jump, let's say. But year 2 on an offensive lineman, that'd be a prime year to get a big jump. And You mean Darisaw did it?
Yeah, and that's what I mean. If Ingram is probably one of the most important players, it would for us to have a jump, have a breakout season. If he has a breakout season, we're talking about a pretty damn good offensive line then at that point.
Right.
Obviously, hopefully the other two in the middle can step up or at least hold their own this season. But if just Ed Ingram breaks out, we're talking, and now we are back to Josh Oliver. See, we can't even stop talking about Josh Oliver. You also brought another guy, and of course, you should probably bring up CJ Ham too when you're talking about blocking. So you're talking about all kinds of good blocking for us, and we could be a surprise, like really good passing and run blocking team this year.
Jamie, when are we gonna get the CJ Ham 1,000 yard prediction? Is that coming anytime soon?
Yeah, he's gonna be all pro, right? So
1,000 rushing yards for CJ Ham.
I could see it. I could probably see it. At least maybe 500, five and
will
500
CJ Ham break 40 yards this year?
A 40-yard run,
2 touchdowns. No total.
If I was gonna give a prediction for CJ Ham right now, I'm gonna be honest. We'll say 150 to 200 all-purpose yards.
Oh, all-purpose.
All-purpose yards. Because we know Kirk Cousins loves to pass to him, and yeah. I'm gonna go with Bob Sweet, 4 jet sweep touchdowns. But we'll see. But or out of anything, man, hopefully he can come in and block well for a run game, and we see that from Josh Oliver as well. And man, I'm excited for that. And if Ed Ingram can break out and Christian Darisaw becomes who we think he can be, our offensive line, that's going to be like probably one of the most underrated thing about us going into next season, if that's the case, which obviously make us a top 5 offense, if not top 3, if that was to be the case.
Dude, if we're at goal line, I want to put Oliver on the left side, CJ Ham in there, and just run over Darisaw. I just want to do that, man.
You want to see? Yeah, dude.
I think Davenport's another good choice as well. I think Sarah mentioned him as well earlier. I mean, we're gonna need him to be a good option too, especially with the news of today with the uncertainty around Danielle Hunter. Especially if Danielle Hunter.
I just feel like Davenport had a breakout season already.
Yeah, he probably already considered a breakout and then just came back down to earth. So we just need him.
Let's let him break out again.
Yeah, I mean, who says you can't have a breakout twice?
2 breakouts.
It's a new team. It's 2 breakouts. Start over.
Comeback player of the year.
That's fair.
Come back Viking of the year.
Comeback Viking of the year. I do think
that'd be Lewis Seen if we have him.
Yep.
Dude, it's just gonna be so fun. That's the thing with our defense, even though it's really young. Man, there's some players with such specific skills that you have a guy like Flores who can take advantage of them, like Seen. Like with his speed and his hitting ability, like having a guy like Flores is perfect for him. And even Davenport, like his athleticism and size and everything with him as well. It's like perfect to have someone like Flores. Danielle Hunter, obviously we already know about Harrison Smith. So those are all right, it's too evil. I was gonna say who's saying that and this too evil, and then it was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. We don't want Seen to be a bust too evil. Come on, too evil.
We were talking about last night on our show about how I keep getting my face covered here. I'm like talking like this. You can't. I feel like the guy. What was it? Home Improvement. I feel like guy on Home Improvement.
What was his name?
Yeah,
what was his name? Over here, Mr. What was it? I don't remember his name. It's gonna bother me.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat, if you know, say it. It's really gonna bother me. Is it Wilson? Is that his name? Wilson.
Yeah. Wilson. Yeah. So now I don't know what I was gonna say. What were we talking about?
See, I was talking about Flores and the defensive players. Too Evil said Seen is a bust.
Oh, bust. We were talking about last night how people in the Purple Daily chat on their live show were calling him a bust. And I'm like, how could you freaking call someone a bust if he broke his leg in half in the 4th game of his career, and now he's literally came back full speed, completely healthy, the start of OTAs. That's like a Wolverine type shit. like AP 2012 type of crap.
That worth ethic.
I wouldn't even put him even sniffing a bust label yet. The same with Booth Jr.
Same with Booth Jr. I want to see Booth Jr. Like, I know he has had his injury history or whatever. You got to give him at least a second year to prove that he's never going to be a starter because of his injuries. It's not 1 year. Like, it doesn't take 1 year to automatically like, oh, this dude's injury prone for the rest of his career. It's not the first time.
Who thought Dalvin Cook would have played 17 games this past year?
Not me.
Not me.
Yeah. No, and Adrian Peterson busting his knees and getting MVP. Well, he's
heard still it in week 16.
The last non-quarterback MVP, right? Since he was MVP, he's been the only one.
And he tore his knee in week fucking 16.
Jay Henderson. Oof.
Incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is crazy. Adrian Peterson is something else, but it just shows you Adrian Peterson's well known for his work ethic. I mean, obviously some people probably have the ability to heal faster than others, but if from a fundamental standpoint, like, you got to think it's your work ethic. How much work are you putting into getting healthy? Adrian Peterson, no one questioned his work ethic at all. He's probably one of the most hardworking players in the NFL at the time. And Lewis Cine coming back this early, it kind of just shows what his work ethic might be like, which shows a ton of, especially when you have a great work ethic, but you're also 6'2" and run a 3.37. Usually good things are going to come from that, I think. A 3 or 4.37, 3.37, a 4.37. A 4.37. So I think Lewis Cine's going to have a great year, unless it really does come down to, if you never know, a player could be injury prone, but I'm not just going to go into every season expecting someone to get injured all the time, because there's been plenty of players who come in and get injured their first. Joe Burrow, was it his rookie season where he tore his ACL?
I guess Joe Burrow is a bust, right?
Yeah,
he broke his leg or knee.
Yeah, you guys, some people look, it's a real thing. Injuries and stuff are a real thing, but I think some people look into them too much. You have to give them at least more than one chance with an injury, at least.
Though before Burrow tore his ACL, though, he was playing really well that year. He was showing signs of being the guy before he hurt his knee.
But yeah, that's fair.
I still think Cine's going to have a big season.
A big season.
Yep.
Yeah. I agree. I think it will. Any other honorable mentions? I like the Ed Ingram ones were good. Obviously,
was he the only one we had?
I only put.
I see. I see.
This is all of honorable mentions.
I see what
you
put
him as the cover photo.
I got you.
I didn't know.
I know I'd mentioned in our group text earlier. I think Ty Chandler could have a breakout season. I mean, I know he didn't play much. He didn't play much last year due to injury and everything, but I think he could have a year where people see him as the second part of a running back by committee for the next couple seasons.
Mm-hmm. My problem with, I'm big on Ty Chandler, but I've softened on him only because of McBride. And like, I would say one of those backs, other than, Alexander Madison, could come out and have a breakout season, but I feel it's because Madison had to sit. Like he got hurt. And one of those guys, I think either Ty Chandler or McBride, whoever gets that opportunity is going to run with it, and that's going to be the guy we go with.
But I think they're different type of backs, though.
Well, that's interesting about McBride.
It's true, but
Chandler kind of is a receiving back. I think they're going to want to use Chandler's skill
set. Though I do think Chandler's running ability is definitely underrated.
Another guy with 4.3 speed with great vision.
He looks great as a runner, man. Like last year in preseason, I was, obviously I always do this too much where I like compare a young player to someone super good, but I'm going to do it again. He just reminds me, his running style reminds me of Saquon's, and it's just the way
I could see that comparison.
It's just the way, I mean, obviously Saquon's a beast, whatever. But it's just the way his legs, I don't know what it is. It's like his hips and his legs, the way they're moving. It just reminds me of just like Saquon. That's why when Saquon was a rookie, I don't know. There's something different I saw in him, and I kind of see a similar thing in Ty Chandler. So his running ability is really underrated. And McBride should come in, in McBride, there's no question he could come in and actually be our best, strictly running type of running back. There's a chance he comes in and he's better at pure runner than Madison. It's not out of the question, I don't think, for that to happen. It'll be
I just
interesting
feel
to see
like
what
we're
happens.
set for a long time at running
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, and if that's why I was like, man, if we went into next season and it was just McBride and Ty Chandler, if you had that as a committee, I think that'd be one hell of a committee, man. But we even have Madison on top of that. I feel like Madison's just like he's more of like an all around out of those two, in my opinion.
He has the qualities of everybody except the speed.
Yeah, except the speed. Yeah,
But
so
the
it's gonna
speed is
be.
still, but he still
It's
does
good
have speed.
enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Bob Speed, I'm not sold on Quezzy. I'm not extremely sold on Quezzy yet. I mean, so far I like what he's done for the most part in off seasons. Everything that's happening with all these players and their contracts is interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they roll out. And
I want to see the next 2 off seasons. I want to see the rest of this one and next one to see how he plays things.
And I need to see more. We'll see. I think this will be telling this year for how he is as a drafter at drafting players, because so far there's nothing saying like he's just really good at it or anything like that. So hopefully I like him a lot. There's no question. I mean, players love him. You need a little bit more than that. He's made some good moves for us in offseason as free agent picks, like getting Murphy and Davenport were big in our situation with our cap space.
And even Za'Darius last year.
What's that?
And even Za'Darius last year.
And even Za'Darius last year. Like, we shouldn't have got those. Like, going into I was like, we're not going to be able to do anything or whatever. And then we did. And even we'll find out Oliver. What if Oliver is the stud we think he is? Oliver's going to be really telling how he turns out. So I think it's too early. I'm not sold on Quezzy yet. I'd have to say I'm not sold on him yet. But at the same time, like, I think he still could be a great GM. So I'm like, who knows yet? It's too early.
How he handled the early offseason, getting an Oliver and a Davenport, I think, and a Murphy is like,
that's right.
I didn't expect getting players like that. I didn't expect it, and we got them. So I'm pretty happy with it. A couple honorable mentions I would say would depend on circumstance, but I feel like out of the cornerback position, Mekhi Blackman coming in as a rookie and stealing a starting spot, because I think that is an open competition, and I think he is the cover corner. Out of all those, I think he's got that more ability right now. They talk about how he's in everybody's pocket, but I say he's holding on to it. That's if he gets over that, I think he could easily be our if he wins a starting job, that is a breakout season for me. And then Metellus, if he jumps up, wins that second safety job over Lewis Cine and just keeps Lewis Cine down, that's a breakout season for me too, man.
Yeah. I just hope we get 2 corners that have a breakout or mini breakout seasons.
We need it.
Murphy and Murphy could have one too. I would consider him being, even though he's established corner, but he hasn't been considered an elite corner because of the defenses he's played on.
And he's only 26. So he still is so young that he still has a chance to be a Pro Bowl type of cornerback. Casey, were you about to say something else?
Nope, that was it. I want 2 corners.
Greg Spone, Tonga. I know a lot of people like Tonga. Man, if Tonga could somehow turn into something and have a breakout, I think that would be the most important thing, because our defensive line needs it.
If we had a nose tackle have a breakout year,
God, that's what we
need. Here's what I'm looking at. You got Tonga, you got Jaquelin Roy, you got Harrison Phillips, Marcus Davenport, Daniil Hunter. Those 5, they could all turn out. I'm in.
Yeah, that would be nice. Rager gonna break a breakdown season by Jalen Rager. I could see it. Is as good as Cook. Rick Sosa says we have no quality running backs after Delvin Cook.
He says a lot.
What's going on? First off, what's going on, Go Branson?
Really?
That's crazy. I think we got so much potential that is ridiculous. Like
he's in his own camp on that one. I don't think there's anybody that I've heard talk about a running back saying all we have is Dalvin. There's not a single person out there.
No. We all know that guy says a lot of things.
Quezzy might need to go with all these mistakes. I wouldn't say that yet, man.
His mistakes led to a 13-4 season.
Yeah, his one season, the team went 13-4. He got
what mistakes are we talking about?
I mean, look, I would say some of the things he's done are questionable. I would agree
He
with that
stole
100%.
TJ from Lions, getting
That was a
TJ
good one. But,
Hawkinson.
like,
That's
some of
a
the draft
killer
picks, yeah,
move.
you could be like, why did you pick this guy then? You could, but then again, that's all just what we think. We always said after the draft, we're not in the war room. We're not there with them.
Well,
We don't know what their thought process is. I mean, they showed us some of their thought process in some of the videos the Vikings put out. But
and
like,
even though we traded with the Lions, right, to get down to take Lewis Seen, if Lewis Seen turns out to be a starter, Booth takes over with the starting cornerback, and we get a Pro Bowler right guard out of Ingram, he's going to look like a freaking genius. And he's already got one starter out of those three in Ed Ingram. So, that he could come out looking perfect. And what did the Lions get? A guy on the 6-game suspension.
right.
So,
who you want to talk about? I mean, I know he was hurt half the season, but what do you have? One catch for one touchdown against us, but like,
yeah, and it was our guy breaking coverage, and he basically just had to sit there and he caught it like a basket catch.
Yeah,
it's not like he made any tight. It was like not an elite play by any means.
So you're looking at a guy that missed the first half of his first season, then he's going to miss 6 games out of his second season. You gotta look at that as well. You want to talk about injuries?
That might consider him a bust now, right?
Exactly right.
I would have Watson over him right now.
Ooh, that's I don't know. I wish we had our 10-year-old Packer friend in here, but yeah,
Watson's a good player, man. He's gonna be a good player.
What, for the Pack?
Yeah,
Christian Watson. I don't know.
No, and this is a guy. It was down. I've talked down on him, but he's gonna be a good player.
Hey, what's going on, Zoe, in the podcast? What's going on, buddy? One thing with Kwesi is I think the thing with him is we got to let him go through next offseason because I think that's going to be the most telling of his career, especially if this quarterback stuff happens. That's going to be it doesn't even matter what he's done right now because his whole entire career is going to be based on the quarterback he picks in the first round next year, and nothing else really matters at this point, in my opinion. Well, of course, there is things that matter, but that's going to be the defining moment. If he gets a quarterback of the future and it works out, or if Jaren Hall works out, then obviously then he's definitely next level. But yeah, I think a lot of it will come down to next year's draft. He'll get his one chance at a quarterback, and if he gets it right, everybody's gonna love him for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm intrigued though, and that's the thing. That's why I said you got to give him at least the rest of this offseason because we'll see what the ending, what the end is to the Danielle Hunter and Delvin Cook stories. See what happens there, and then next year, if he does decide to draft a quarterback, or if he decides if he extends Kirk Cousins, 3/4 of the fan base can be out on him anyway. But yeah, these next 2 off seasons are going to be really telling. And then if we keep going towards a competitive side, or if he decides to rebuild, if we come out and again we go to win 10, 11, 12 games, win the division, then everything he's doing, it's like we're questioning it, but there's proof that it works. At least the culture part that he's brought in. Does the player-wise, he still needs some work? Sure. But who knows? Maybe these players break out. Because if we win 12 games, some of those players have to play well with what we've gotten rid of this last season.
It really feels like he's still working on some sort of master plan. At least that's like what we're hoping. Because there's so much things we're not like sure what's happening for sure. But I feel like he has some sort of plan that he's still working through.
And he came into a bad situation.
It may take a few years. What's that?
He came into a bad situation.
And he turned it around in 1 year, honestly.
Yeah.
Like a lot of really good players, but he had bad financial planning or a bad financial situation to come into, where there's a lot of old players on bad contracts that he is still working around to this day.
And the ballsiest move of all is not taking Harbaugh at coach and going with Kevin O'Connell. That is probably the ballsiest move. Everybody, including me, I was ready to welcome Harbaugh and we.
Yeah, me too.
Harbaugh would have been like we have 3 years to go do this thing. If you get a guy like Harbaugh with Kevin O'Connell, you're like we can do the thing now and we can build towards the future as well.
It could be 15 years with him, but yeah, you have to think like as a GM, you go get Harbaugh. If it doesn't work out, nobody's probably blaming you. If you go and get KOC, especially instead of Harbaugh, and doesn't work out, you're getting a lot of blame. That's almost as bad as trading for a shitty quarterback or something. Like it's that big of a deal. So that takes balls. And for KOC to come in and have a 13-4 season is absolutely crazy.
With a team, with basically the same team that went 8-9.
Yeah, and again, with no money, somehow still gets Zadarius Smith, all that stuff. Same and going into the off, like he's working on all these, like you said, bad contracts. That's why there's like I think he's working on some sort of master plan that's not a 1 year fix, even though he did a lot in 1 year.
Yeah, and the Wilfs have proven to be patient. So I think like there has to be some sort of plan in place. The Wilfs are patient ownership, and as long as you don't completely tank and make really bad decisions, they'll let you do what you need to do. Maybe
they're
too long,
setting it up.
Honestly,
yeah, they're setting it up for the quarterback of the future. They want that quarterback on the rookie contract, and that's what's going to be. And I think that's what they're really trying to plan for. Is really once you get that quarterback and then plan that future with that new quarterback. That's my guess.
From Skol TY here, this is 100% correct. Need to go give the GM at least 5 years, unless you can tell it's going to be a train wreck. Which I agree with that.
Yeah,
it's in the way we're looking at. It's looking like it's on a completely positive trajectory, right?
Yeah.
So, that 5-year thing is definitely okay right now. We're definitely not headed towards a train wreck.
Year 1, 13-4. We're not ready to take out our GM yet. After what were we? What was the record before?
I think it was 8-9 or 9-8. One of the
I think
so we were kind of in that
13-4. You come back to a team that went 9-8 and somehow come back through 13-4.
I think we're 8-9.
The quarterback position is going to be huge, telling for him.
Yep, yeah, we were 8-9. It was a 17. Was it 17-game season?
Yeah,
I think that was the last.
It was the first 17 games.
Or the first, the first. So 8-9. So we went 8-9. We get a new GM and coach, and it goes 13-4, and we're trying to take out Kwesi already.
Yeah, how many people do you see in like a Twitter argument, and there's some guy goes, "We need to get rid of Kwesi. He's terrible." I'm like, we just had a fucking 13-4 season,
and it's his first season with terrible contracts, with terrible
GMs are more than just drafters. Like everybody always wants to put the draft class, the draft cat.
Yeah.
They do more than just draft players. Like they build, like they're the ones building this team and like solidifying their vision.
I mean, look at Belichick. In my opinion, he's not the best. He's the worst at drafting, and he's obviously creating these. Obviously, he's also the coach. He has some very good draft picks, but most of the time, nothing special
Gronk
at all.
In the 7th round. So
yeah, he has some, and then obviously Brady and whatever. He has some huge ones, but most of the time, like last year, Cole Strange in the 1st round. He's supposed to be a 3rd round pick. That kind of stuff. So there's a lot more than just drafting. But I would say, out of everything so far, I like Kwesi. And pretty much everything, all these contract situations is really interesting, and what's going to happen in Delvin Cook and the timing of it all is interesting. But other than that, his drafting's the only thing so far where I'm like, I'm not convinced as him as a drafting GM. But at the same time, it's not really his fault because we've had so many injuries in those positions that we just didn't get to see enough of our players from last year. So this year will be a good tell to see how well he is at drafting, especially if we see guys like Addison work out, or if Blackman comes in and he ends up being, a quality cornerback. And obviously we didn't have a 2nd round pick, but that was for TJ Hawkinson, who has potential to be top 3 tight end in the entire league this year. So there's been some good. There's definitely been a lot of good. And he's going to pick the best quarterback in next year.
Which running back did Atlanta just lose? Hopefully not Bajan.
I don't see. There's no way Cook goes there unless it literally is Bajan.
Yeah. Well, because then they have Cordero, and who's the other? They had that other guy who played well last year. That
Aguilar.
Yeah,
Aguilar.
Yep, that's the one. But yeah. Well, anything else before we?
I think that's it. I'm gonna run through our one more time. Our top 5 honorable mentions. Alexander Madison, or top honorable mentions, top 5 breakout players, starting with Alexander Madison, Brian Asamoah, Jalen Naylor, Josh Oliver, and Lewis Seen, with honorable mentions, Darrisaw, who's on his way to be the best player at his position. So yeah. There's a type of, oh yeah, I forgot. Justin Jefferson rookie card giveaway. And of course, the Justin Jefferson rookie card giveaway. Hashtag Skol in the comments, like Skol TY has done right here. Subscribe to the channels. Let me put this back up here. Subscribe to Minnesota Sports Talk and GT Sports Podcast. Everything is in the description below. And of course, like this video. I know JD was in here earlier. If he's still in there, he will make sure you guys are liking this stuff. Hall looks like a wasted pick. I mean, it's a late 5th round pick. I'm taking a chance on a running.
I don't consider a potential backup quarterback in the 5th round as a wasted pick.
You know, too evil to hope. I don't know if this is your shtick, but I don't know whether or not your comments are serious or like or sarcasm. I can't. I honestly can't tell, and I kind of love it.
Because I think, like Hall, I think like you're taking. What if he turns out? I'm taking you. If you get a guy of his talent and his ability, especially for someone like Too Evil, I'm sure wanted that type of quarterback. I feel like you want to take how Greg Spohn thinks is. It's a late 5th round pick. Late for pick, like that dude has.
I like the pick.
I gave it an A. I gave it an A. I thought he was potentially this. There was one point where I thought he was the 6th best quarterback.
I thought he was potentially high as 5, but I had him at 7 only because of his height.
Yeah, I had him above. I did like him too though. The Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I had him above DTR.
I mean, after the top 3, and maybe Hendon Hooker you could toss in there as well. After those guys,
I have him right there with Hendon Hooker, honestly, like right below him. I just feel like he has the Hendon Hooker numbers.
Yeah, it's just his size.
Yeah, he has Hendon Hooker numbers, man.
And he's the same age as Hendon Hooker. But no, the kid could be. I'm not saying he is going to be sub, but to take a chance on a quarterback, especially one that can run the ball really well. He's not the fastest quarterback there, but when you watch him run, it's obvious he has a great running ability. Like he couldn't be a running back, but he can run like a running back. Yeah, he's nice. He's nice. And to have a guy in the 5th round that you get to take a chance on, someone like that, someone who has had a quarterback this whole time that can't run at all, you'd think people like Too Evil, Too Hope, and these guys would at least be excited to go in that right direction, the direction that they want for quarterback. Especially since if it doesn't work out, we still can just go get our guy in the 1st round next year, which I do think is what we're going to do unless Hall is a stud right out of the gate, which is hard to believe. But yeah. So I'm disappointed Hall won't beat out Mullins. It'll be hard. I don't know. Mullins is a legit backup quarterback.
I would feel safer with Mullins as our backup this year. But again, I haven't seen preseason yet.
He could be a legitimate backup quarterback. I'm not afraid to say there's a chance he could be. There's a reason why people think he could be the Purdy of this draft.
I think his mental makeup and his athletic ability will make him have a long career in the NFL. He just won't. He may just not be a starter.
A Chase Daniel-esque career. Dude's made a lot. Chase Daniel's made a lot of money in the league being a backup.
Let's get 3 wins. Woo. I mean, no, we're not going to get 3 wins. It's impossible. Though I want to figure out some way for us to get some more draft capital so we can just really go get whoever we want, which all depends on who has the number 1 overall pick. But hopefully it's Arizona, and hopefully they feel good about Kyler Murray next year. Are you drunk tonight, Jamie? No. Why? You don't like the Hall stuff, Greg? I'm not saying he's going to be a starter, but I'm not also saying like, oh, this guy has no starting qualities other than him being short. That's like
I like the idea.
The only reason why you think Hall can't be a starter is because you think he's too small.
I liked the idea of taking a quarterback who's proven he can win in college. Like that's big.
In the 5th round,
you're not really spending anything like super major on him. Did we have other needs? Sure, but at that point, I mean, they saw him as the best option. And they said they would have taken him earlier. They were surprised he was still there, which is why they had to move up to get him. He has Mormon superpowers. Exactly.
Yeah. Hey, we're just hopeful. But like I've said before, at the very least, where the Vikings are headed. They're headed in that direction. At the very least, paying a 5th-4 haul shows us the Vikings are going to kind of head in that more mobile type of quarterback direction. So I think at the very least, you should be happy about that. I mean, that's the reason why I like that pick a lot. I don't know if he's going to be a starter or anything like that, but it's a 5th-round pick. It's not like great players are coming in the 5th round all the time.
Low risk, potentially high reward.
You got people calling him a wasted pick and the heir apparent to Kirk Cousins. I never seen a more wide range of speculation on a player.
Yeah, and he's just a 5th rounder. Either way, whatever happens, like if he doesn't work out, then who cares?
I feel you, man. I do the same exact thing all the time. I have to like retype so many freaking texts.
Yeah, me too. My problem is I don't even reread my texts. I just do that, send it, realize it's bad, and then I try to correct it, do the same word I did the first time, like 3 times in a row before I get it out right.
Being in a text chat with these two, it's ridiculous because like I'll be like, oh, I have 8 new messages. Oh, there's only 2. Like Jamie 4 messages, Dave 4 more. Like guys,
it is. That's what I do. Like it'd be like car, like caps.
And we're like, does Casey is even alive? We worry about you. Like you don't enter the conversation unless I say something stupid to you like about you. Like,
hey, if I don't,
let's just talk about Casey while he's gone. Finally, what do you, Dave? I'm listening here.
That's funny.
You probably were hating when we used to talk about baseball cards and football cards.
Nah. Oh, jeez. Anyway, we do giveaway time.
This giveaway. What we got in here? What was this next? I hate this half-assed approach to improving the Vikings. Just extract extreme amount of money instead of trying to build the best team. That's fair, but I do think the Vikings just didn't it sounded like they were going to go for Bryce Young if he was available, which in my opinion was the right choice, is to go for him. So that's definitely a good sign in my opinion, but there's a lot of, I think, better quarterbacks going into next year's draft. If we don't go after a quarterback in the 1st round next year's draft, I'll hop on your train, Too Evil. But I think there's a real possibility. We didn't feel like this was the draft for us this year, and it really feels like we're more focused on doing that next year. So let's hope that's what happened. Let's hope that's what happens.
Dave, you caught just the very end of the show here, but hey, you still entered.
So yeah, again, hashtags go in the comments one more time. Got you, Too Evil. I agree. I want the
Evil
quarterback to be so bad, but what's that?
He conceded.
Yeah, I won. I got
this is like an event. This is holy shit.
Dang, fair enough. Let's go, Too Evil. Let's go. All right, I'm running this thing. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Who do we got tonight?
I think it's Justin.
And it is. Justin says he wanted it. That's all you got to do. Boom. Oh!
What are the chances?
Dang, dude. You guys just have to ask for it and you'll get it. You just got to ask.
But is he still here? Probably not.
Well, you know how to get a hold of him.
Who the heck's Purple and Go for Days?
Yeah, I don't know this guy.
Me neither.
I have no idea who this guy is.
You should go still check out his channel and subscribe.
And he's making shit happen. Contracts. He was talking about paperwork last night. Apparently, did you hear about it?
What happened?
Dave off of what's the name? Matt Anderson's channel. He's on.
What is it?
PI.
I have to look it up. I can't think of it.
Well, they opened up a new channel called Purple and Gold something. Is these names are getting so confusing because we got Purple and Gold for Days, and then they made up a new channel, and he's doing it's. What was the thing? Happy Hour. What channel is that
Vikings
on?
Happy Hour.
Yeah. What's the channel that's on?
Channel though. It's not Vikings territory, right?
No, it's Let me just look up Vikings Happy Hour.
I know it's so obvious too.
Yeah,
Climb in the pocket. Climb in the pocket.
So yeah. Dave, the older guy from Climb in the Pocket, is like left. I thought he was climbing the pocket. I had no idea, and he started a new channel, and he's part of it, I guess. So. He's cheating on us.
Justin he's joining his channel.
He's left the crib. He's left the crib.
Is that actually true?
No, he's doing content for him.
For both. Oh,
he was talking about paperwork, like signing paperwork or something yesterday.
Dang. That's what's up. Good shit, Justin.
No,
good
no,
shit.
the 14-year-old Packer fan left us alone tonight. He wasn't couldn't take any more of the harassment, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see them soon though.
Oh, I'm sure.
And that happy hour show, they're starting to get like,
oh yeah,
Purple. They got Judd on there. They got Doogie Wilson. They got Mackie. Mackie was on there. It's crazy.
Yeah, those guys got a good channel, man. That will help us too. Yeah, 6-shooter. If you're in here, it looks like Yogi is trying to send you a Vikings ticket, but he said that if you don't accept it, he's sending that bad boy to me. So I'll take it. His mom grounded him. Dave, you need to get Mackie or who's that? Oh, Declan. Declan?
Declan has ghosted me for the past year. I mean, I appeared on his show, and then he has ghosted me ever since.
I'll take it.
And all it took for Judd to like, yeah, man, that sounds cool. Let's do it. It was a completely different experience.
Is Mackie your nemesis, Dave?
Not really. I mean, he doesn't know I probably exist, so he occasionally just sounds personal with him. That's all. Like he said, I was listening to a show and he called you referred to our right guard as being an idiot, and I'm like, what? Like, where did that come from? I'm like, just he's still talking about trading Kirk Cousins even today. It's like, it's not happening, man. Get over it. So it's just I don't know. It seems to take things a lot personal, or he takes things to a personal side.
All right.
But
well, anything else before we call it an evening here?
I think so. I think Dave are you going live tomorrow, Dave?
No, I'm taking tomorrow off, man. I don't want to talk about Dalvin Cook for 3 days in a row again.
Greg, I'm still working on that John Randall auto. I'm working on that. Unless if there's any other rookies that you want, I can probably go grab something for sure. I almost bought a bunch of Addison, but ended up not doing it. Justin Jefferson rookie cards is I probably could get some Randy Moss rookie cards of some sort, something like that. Yeah, just let me know if you want to inbox me on Facebook or whatever too, Greg. Just like I'm always cool for other ideas as far as that goes. So yeah, no problem. Too evil, no problem.
Thanks for hopping in. But yeah, all right. Anyway, that'll do it for us. We'll see you guys next Wednesday, Skol Experience. Hopefully, maybe we'll have some news to talk about. Maybe there'll be a Daniil Hunter contract, a trade,
something coming up soon. At least one of these players.
We'll need something to talk about next week, but I'm sure we'll figure something out for you. But anyway, thanks for hopping in, and we will catch you guys next week.
Sounds good. Greg, it doesn't have to be your rookie cards. As far as like autos and stuff like that, obviously those ones are a little bit more expensive, and I will buy those and for maybe more special occasion type of things. But yeah, just let me know. But all right, anyways.
And I think during the season, I'm gonna be doing streaming during the games because now that the Vikings the NFL is going to be on YouTube, and I am thinking about having giveaways. If Jamie can show me how to do this.
I've told him like 5 times, but
you told me, but you never showed me. You can show me right after this if you want, and I'll start doing giveaways.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, I can show you.
But I have all these Todd McFarlane Vikings figurines from the past that I've collected over the years, and I'm thinking about giving those away during games. So we'll see. They're obviously kind of, some of them are kind of high end items, so I don't want to just give them out on a show where we got 40 listeners. So I'm gonna probably do them during
You got to
stream.
strategize with some of these higher end stuff.
Exactly.
But my
Okay,
wife
yeah.
would be happy. She calls them my Barbies. To get rid of them.
That's come on, they're action figures. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, they're action figures with
Everybody
disposable
knows that.
with karate grips.
Right.
Here's one right here. Here's an AP. That would be an example.
Hey, let's go. But alrighty. Well, Minnesota goodbyes. Just, I mean,
as
it's
we always
appropriate.
do.
Alrighty, we're out
All
of here.
right, sure, buddy. Next week.